How are we going to start this?
Just fucking go. Like, what's in your heart right now? Do you have any questions? Like, what's
Okay, what's in my heart right now is probably just that I'm super anxious about the move.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like, I'm so excited to move, but I'm so anxious about moving that, like, I don't know. I'm like that person who gets equal levels of excitement and nervous about a big change. And right now my excitement has transcended more into the nervous realm than the excitement realm.
Yeah, I totally feel that because it's just, I don't like the unknown at all.
No, me neither.
Which kind of sucks. Like, I built up, like, even if it's a movie I want to see, I'm like, okay, my expectations are, and then I just don't know if it's going to turn out better than that. Yeah,
no, I feel you. I just, like we were talking earlier and you rightfully were like, well, you are going to, like, you said this was going to be your year of thriving. And right now, it's anxiety inducing. There's lots to do, but you will be thriving soon. Oh, there's a fucking bee in here.
There's this, I think, is that the same bee from last week?
I don't know. It might be.
Poor Reggie, man.
Yeah, he's, I feel like we should try to get him out, but I don't want to touch him. That's weird.
Yeah. Well, he might be trying to touch you.
Wait, I think it was actually on the outside because I just saw one fly away. Okay, maybe it was fine.
Unless, like, that was his, like, visiting family and this is prison. They just put their wing up against the window and touched it.
They, like, touched their little, like, feet to the window. Yeah, no. Yeah, so I'm, like, weird equal parts. And then we had coffee before we started, which I don't know about you, but coffee always, like, makes my heart rate just, like, absolutely race. And then, like, my body's like, is this a panic attack?
It sucks because I need this shit now. I hate the like the memes where it's like I don't do shit without my coffee or whatever. Mm-hmm. But now I need it, like, because I'm just so shitty with my sleep lately. I can't fucking sleep anymore.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I can't get comfortable. I can't get calm. I can't get it. Like, I always wake up. Like, it seems like when I wake up to piss, I can't fall asleep after that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've had this weird. Like, I don't fully know what you mean, to be honest, like, because I am, like, a really light sleeper, and I want to, like, investigate that because, like, when, like, a Fitbit, like, tracks your heart rate, and it tracks, like, via the heartbeat when you enter, like, REM sleep, deep sleep, light sleep, and I always, like, I'm always in the light sleep stage. Like, I get very little deep and REM sleep. And, like, it might also be too that, like, when I work out and I'm consistently, like, exercising and, like, more physically active during the day, I think I sleep deeper. But I've just been in this realm of, like, light sleeping, and part of me wants to explore CBD to see if it deepens my sleep, but I think that's probably just something to help me relax and fall asleep, not necessarily will deepen my sleep.
No, I've been taking it, and it calms me, like, it calms me down.
Yeah.
Like the first time I took it, I was just relaxed immediately. I watched the movie Call Me By Your Name, and I'm like, this is a good movie. This is really calm.
Call Me By Your Name. Which one is that about?
Came out a couple years ago. It's about this, it's like a gay love.
Oh, yeah.
It's about the teen falling in love with, like, the older dude.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, didn't it get, like, a lot of criticism because it had that? And yeah.
Well, he was, like, 17. He was, like, in his 30s. Like, but
that's a little.
The way the movie it wasn't like, he was like, it wasn't like Lolita shit.
Yeah, Lolita. Oh my God, Lolita's disgusting.
Yeah, but I've never seen, like, there's very few movies I've seen, like, put all that other shit aside, it completely captures the feeling of summer.
Ooh.
Which, like, that, I was just like, what the fuck? But, like,
cool.
The director did it so goddamn well. And with the CBD oil,
yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm tired of this winter bullshit.
Yeah, no, I'm ready for that summer feeling and vibe. I'm, like, ready for it. But, oh, nope, homeboy is totally inside.
Yeah, that's Reggie. He's Reggie the bee. Fuck it. He's the Coffee and Catastrophe.
I feel bad because, I don't know how we're going to get him out of here. He's not even a bee. I think he's a wasp.
White Anglo-Saxon.
Anglo-Saxon, not Saxton.
I don't know. I say Saxton. Wow.
Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Yeah. Maybe he'll start, he'll ask to see the manager.
Can you imagine having a life where not only is it very short, but as your last line of defense, you have to like hit someone with your ass until you die?
Yeah, I don't think I could. Well, don't wasps? Wasps can live after they sting somebody. I think it's honeybees can't.
Oh.
And bumblebees die. Wasps and hornets, I think, can go and go and go.
See, when I was a kid, I would, like, the bees would chase me. They would be all over me. Now the bees are just like, hey, man, what's up?
Yeah, I get usually, like, bees. I've heard that they like light skin and light, no, not light skin, light hair. Like, and I have, like, really blonde hair. So I was told that they always were attracted to that. But I don't really think that's a thing, actually.
And bees like blondes. That's cool.
I've never been stung by a bee.
It sucks.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. And also, I don't know. Like, I'm also kind of afraid because, like, what if I'm allergic to bees and I don't know?
Yeah, you'll be puffed up in the face, and that'll be your last summer.
Yeah, no, that would not be good. I think that probably speaks to the lack of time I spent outside as a child. I liked being inside, like watching TV, reading. I mean, I wasn't like one of those kids who just like loved like being outside. Like I've always just kind of been like, I've grown into that more now as an adult or in like as a teen than I ever did as a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
I wish I could recapture what I experienced as a kid. Like some of my favorite times were going to Ace Hardware with my family.
Where? Which Ace Hardware?
In Round Lake. Okay.
Is it downtown?
It's near the train station.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
At the time, they actually had a big toy section.
Oh.
And they had badass toys. They actually had Animorphs and Jurassic Park and Beast Wars and like all this shit, like Pokemon toys. They had all this shit there.
Damn.
At any toy store. And the smell of the water coming out of the sprinklers, that like represents summer for me.
Yeah.
Even when like they're using like the weed and feed, there's like a certain chemical smell that represents summer. And in the area, it's like there's kind of like this like swampy bog where they have like all these like tall ass grass nearby.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we would go home, and then like I would open up the toy and go outside, and then just have the sun waiting for me like when I was out there, and it would just be for 3 months, but it felt like it was years.
Yeah, I don't like. I remember like going to the library and getting books because they always did like a summer reading challenge at the public library. I remember doing that, and I didn't ever like really win, but I would like check out a lot of books. I remember our family would ride our bikes to, like downtown Grays Lake and like go to Dog and Suds and Tasty Freeze, and the aquatic center opened, and we'd go to the pool. When we got older, Six Flags is nearby. We would go to like Six Flags. We got like season passes or whatever. Yeah. And like, but yeah, I was never really a fan of like being outside in the sun, like, and I didn't ever play sports other than if dance, that's always the argument, is dance a sport. I played t-ball when I was like 5, and like that was, I think I've told this story before, where like the joke was that like there was this one game where like me and this girl were in the outfield and we were talking to each other, and this ball comes at us. It hit the ground and rolled in front of us, and both of us just like stopped talking, watched it roll, and then went back to talking to each other. And my dad's like, yeah, she's not meant for softball. Yeah. So yeah, no, I always liked, I liked riding my bike. We talked about it. I didn't learn how to ride my bike sans training wheels until like fourth grade, something which I feel is absurd. But I was also like, I think even that example shows that I'm like definitely wasn't a risk taker like in my youth, and I was like definitely didn't want to like do anything that could end in harm. Sure. Or pain.
I didn't learn how to ride a bike till 5th grade. Like training wheels and all that shit. But some of that, like my first bike was a hand-me-down Huffy from my brother, who was 7 years older than me. And here's the thing, it was a shitty bike, but it was my bike because he had no use for it anymore. And actually, they had these little, I don't know what the fuck they are. These like plastic like pegs that you put on the rims of the bike. So when they would go, they would bleep, 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 bleep. Like, so I don't care. I was the kid. I was riding my shit around town with that. It was.
Don't they like slide? They slide up and down like the spokes, right? Yes. And they like make this like jingly noise.
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. My first bike was like a hand-me-down. It was from like a garage sale, and then once my brother and I got a little older, because of course we have like the 5-year age gap, then we were given like more, I don't know how you would call the bike that I have, and probably the bike that you had, but it's like I think the easy term is like a mountain bike or a dirt bike. Like it's not made for like, what's that called? MX sports?
Yeah, like
whatever.
Doing half pipes and
yeah,
shit.
It's not like meant for that. It's not like that type of dirt bike. It's like it's not a lowrider. It's like a bike that you can take on trails, but you can also use it like in streets. Like, and I was telling you earlier, like I feel like I need to like store it like up here in the burbs because like in the city, you need like one of those like street style bikes that are just like fixed gear or whatever, or like with like the really like thin tires, you know what I'm talking about, where it's like really lightweight, versus this has got a little bit of heft to it. And it's really good for like the prairies around here and like, you know, going to forest preserves and using it. But it won't get any use in the city really. So I've got to like figure out, that's like just another thing on my list to like think about and do. Do you get like that where you just like mentally categorize like shit you need to do?
Yeah, but it's two categories. The shit that I should do and the shit I should ignore. And most of the time it's the shit I ignore. The shit I want to do is just put out this like, okay, like I want to start eating right. I want to start changing my sleeping habits. I want to start going to the gym. I want to start doing this. And I'm like, I have the best intentions. And as soon as there's one roadblock, like let's just say if it was even a small, not even like a hurdle, like a runner's hurdle, if there's just a pebble in the road, I'm like, oh, well, fuck, the road's not smooth. All right, I'm just going to chill.
I feel that. No, I definitely get that way sometimes where it's like, yeah. And it's not to say that we're like not motivated people. And that's where it comes from. It's more so just like it's more so a function of, I don't know what it is. It's not like laziness though, or lack of motivation. I think it's like maybe it's like a defeatist mentality that gets like internalized somehow. But yeah, I feel that way. Like I'm having this weird hiccup in like my thinking where like, we were talking earlier about like when my head goes back to like disordered thoughts or behaviors, I'm having like, I have this like new awareness of it, but like, I'm kind of wondering if it like ever stops. Like I'm really struggling right now to like, I have these like few days where I think I'm like the shit and like super like good and like attractive and like worthy of like love and whatever. And then I have these days where I'm like, I just feel like absolute shit. And it's like really weird. And I'm like trying to like not feel that way. It's like I'm going through this weird thing where like as summer approaches, my brain is going into those like, oh, it's getting warmer. Like you need to lose weight. You need to slim down, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, but like don't do that because like if you try to approach it in the way you did before, you're going to like backslide. And it's like this weird, like I feel like life is cyclical and like we go through these periods and phases and like I think I'm trying to understand that like I'm just in this one phase right now. And like, yeah, maybe it goes back to that thriving thing. Like, I just don't feel like I'm thriving right now. Like, I will feel like I'm thriving soon, probably. But it's just kind of like this weird, like, interim space where I kind of feel like things are getting better and good, but not perfect. But perfect is, like, stupid. I'm kind of just rambling. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's because you're so used to preparing for the change and like that's always, so it's kind of like this time of the year is equating with your body.
Yeah.
But then also it's not just your body, it's your habits. Yeah. It's not just your habits, it's your thinking. So all those come together just because like the outside is kind of like this weird mirror because we are who we are like whenever we're just outside, even if it's like in the wintertime, we're all bundled up. You know, we share the same misery. Like, this is fucking bullshit. Like, last week at this time when we were recording, this is, well, by the time this episode is released, it'll be towards the end of the summer. But the previous episode we recorded, there was 3 inches of snow on the ground.
I know.
In April.
Yeah.
And that was fucking nuts.
Yeah, and it was all gone by the next day. Yeah. That was the crazy part.
I think just living within these areas, I mean, I'm not speaking for people who've grown up in Cali or like where it's always hot, but it seems like whenever the seasons change like this, I always get this new motivation, like this sense of like this renewed sense of purpose and renewal and like
it's different energy, as you know, as my favorite phrase, as hippy dippy as that sounds, but it's a new energy, it's a new vibe. Then I feel like in the winter time that is almost an element of survival where you're just like putting on as many layers as you can to not feel the cold. You're eating more comfort food. You're just like, yeah, we act and operate differently. I mean, people in the wintertime, like your level of like going out and exploring or doing things completely drops off because people are always hesitant to go out in the cold and the snow and the wind and all that stuff. And then like once spring and summer is here, it's like, oh fuck, it's warm outside. My face doesn't hurt from the cold. And like, I can go out and do shit now. And it's like way more like active and fun. And I guess I'm just preparing for that. And it's like, it's so weird though. It's so weird that like as like the seasons shift, like our thinking shifts. And that's very much like kind of what you're talking about is like that new motivation.
Yeah.
And like, I guess maybe just like with that shift, I'm like, trying to step into it. It's like maybe it's like a good like pool like analogy where like you're like dip a toe in, then you can put your foot in, then you put your other foot in, then you walk up to your knees, then your hips, your chest, whatever, and you like submerge yourself in that new thinking and feeling. And then I guess maybe I'm like not struggling, but maybe I'm just like working to get there.
Yeah, it's because I think we're still trying to work out some parts of ourselves that we don't like.
Yeah.
To be more like, so to be more motivated and to like have like, to follow through with our words. But I remember last summer you had a list of goals. You met every single fucking goal on that list.
Did I?
Yes, you did. I remember
cool.
you even took a picture of it and you put it on social media.
Yeah. I had a list of like seasonal stuff and I did every single one. And then it fell off in the fall. I tried to do the same and it didn't work. Yeah, maybe I should try to do something like that. I do feel like I'm a person that like needs little goals all the time. Otherwise I just kind of flounder. I think it's hard because I know that I'm entering this transition, right? And I was telling you before that the way I'm kind of like looking at my move is that in this new space that is entirely my own, I can be whoever I want to be. And me stepping into this house that is mine is a symbolic gesture that I'm stepping into not only a new phase of life, but I can transform myself however I want in this new space. I can be whoever I want to in this new space. No one knows me there. I don't want to say not nobody. Like my neighbors don't know me. I have friends in the city or whatever. But it's like, it's like a symbolic gesture of transformation and change and the beginning of a new cycle. And it's really kind of apropos, again, if we bring it to like astrology, because I'm a Taurus and I can't remember if it's Uranus or Saturn. I think Uranus is in Taurus for the next 7 years, which is basically like, this is a 7-year period of absolute transformation and change, like anything, like nothing you've ever realized before. And so it just left Aries. And so now it's in Taurus. So that means I'll be 26 in May till 33. It's going to be this period of change and transformation. And like, I'm so like excited and ready because I think it's a sign that like this is going to keep going. My music's going to be flourishing and like I'll get deeper understanding as a teacher. And, I'm already going to be published in 2 books by the end of, 2020. And like, it's just going to be more and more and more. And like, it's so cool. And I'm so ready for it. But there's also like with that great change and recognition and realization, you're also kind of like, damn, like everything's going to change. And that's like really kind of scary, even though I know it's for the better.
Everything about that mindset is admirable. And I do have a little bit of envy for that. Well, I mean, not that I'm not envious of like your success or your stuff coming true. But I'm just so used to preparing for tragedy more. Only because I'm just so used to like my whole life. Like there's something like, okay, this is a great moment. Oh, here's something really traumatic that just like comes along. And it's not like I'm expecting it. I'm just like over prepared for it because
you're like waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah. Like I'm so used to like, it's just like my Christmas stories where Christmas is this most wonderful time of year and it's about giving and loving and sharing. And I'm calling 911. God damn it.
Yeah.
It's just like, so it's just always kind of like I have to balance those out because most of the time, like, when I am on this like up trajectory, like last year, that was so awesome. Like from May to about mid-August. It was fucking beautiful.
Yeah, totally.
And then some shit happened.
Yeah.
And then I use that shit as the pebble in the road where I'm just like, but I mean, there was a couple boulders there, but it's kind of like, it's not that I have to avoid the tragedy. It's like, okay, this shit's always going to be in the road.
Yeah.
Am I just going to like pull off to the side and just chill until I have an excuse to renovate myself again? Or do I just keep moving?
Yeah. Well, and it's like, it's hard because like your nature might be to like pull over on the side of the road and wait for the boulder to move itself. But like, will that boulder ever move itself? And like, that's like a lot of like internal work that has to be done to like, I don't want to say rectify that because that's like the wrong word, but like to change that mentality of like how it's like, how it's going to be or whatever. Like, and again, it's like, do you ever get that sense that you're like defying your nature or like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like you're doing so much, like doing so much work to undo or redo, and such as life. Like that's the other thing too, is like, if you're not constantly growing, I don't think like that's a life worth living. Yeah. And like, that's another thing that like is like part of this is like, hey, so excited for this new move and this change and all the new shit because it means I'm growing, but it's also like growing pains are a thing.
It's a definite adjustment, it's such a visceral reaction because it's a milestone that you're never going to have the first of again.
Yeah, my parents were saying that. Like my dad was joking. We painted, we painted the condo over the past couple of days, and my dad wore he had like a Loyola shirt, and he wore it, and he was like, "If this is a symbolic gesture, I'm going to get paint all over this shirt and retire it. It's kind of like a graduation of this shirt in the sense that like you graduated from Loyola, you got a job." You bought this place, it's kind of like this new like stage or whatever. And honestly, like Brent, like you're right behind me. Like you are lining everything up so you can be where I'm at. You know what I mean?
Oh
like,
yeah.
You are like, aligning everything. Like you are like chipping away at the boulders. You are.
Yeah. It's, you ever see 127 Hours with James Franco?
I thought you were going to say 101 Dalmatians. No, but I know that, wait, are you going to say that you're severing your arm bit by bit?
No, but that's, so, I think his name's Aaron Ralsted, if I'm remembering correctly, the guy. The hiker. Yeah. He had a quote, and because it's based off of the book, Between a Rock and a Hard Place. Yeah. And he had this quote saying, like, I felt like the universe was telling me that boulder was waiting for me my whole life, because that boulder was stuck there. It was just there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and even times before, like he wasn't even born yet, or even his family, like his great grand ancestors. But then, just the way life happened, that boulder caught up to him.
Yeah, totally.
And I felt like that with me. However, it was my own boulder. I rolled it down. I made it. I rolled it down the hill. You
constructed it pebble by pebble and molded it in your own hands.
Yeah, like the Pee Wee Herman foil ball. Yeah, you ever watch Pee-wee's Playhouse?
I honestly don't think so, but I know obviously who Pee-wee Herman. I saw Pee-wee's Big Adventure and whatnot.
Yeah, so every single episode, or I don't know, every single episode, more often than not, at least, he had, because it's been so long since I saw the show. Whenever they had a candy or something that had foil, they were cooking in the kitchen. He was like, I'll add this to the foil ball. And then they just rolled out this gigantic fucking foil ball that was 6 feet tall. And it made the sound effects of a boulder as they rolled it into the kitchen. And he just put this little piece of foil on there and it just rolled away on its own.
So you feel like you've made your own boulder out of like Pee-wee's Playhouse, the boulder.
Yeah. Every time that I, because my snack was to go back into my own impulses and my own devices and then start blaming people for my problems. And every time and then you're just okay, this is just one little wrapper, but on the inside is a fucking nice little chocolatey treat. I'm going to eat this. This is my candy. This is so sweet. Revenge is so sweet. Or having all these goddamn magic cards is so sweet. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to instead of just discarding this and then just moving on from it, I'm just going to add it to this ball. Yeah. So what happened was one day I opened the door and the ball came crashing down. Yeah. And I actually, in a way, kind of had to like rip off my arm to get out of there, and I had to drink my own piss for days. But
did he do that?
Yeah.
Oh my, I didn't know that. Again, I don't think I'll ever watch this movie. I honestly am getting like, again, it's the coffee in my system, but I'm like nervous just thinking about being trapped by a boulder and having to cut off my own arm and drink my own piss.
Yeah. Like, I don't even like the smell of my own piss. I can't imagine.
Who does?
Yeah. Probably some guy out there.
No, that's true. There's people who like the smell of their bodily functions.
There's a genre of porn dedicated to piss. So there's always something goofy going on. But
yeah.
I got tired of drinking my own piss. And I was stuck. The boulder had me stuck.
Yeah.
So I had to just like, all right, cut off my arm. What was cutting off my arm? Sold all my video games and all my video game systems. Mm-hmm. And then it's so much, it's weird. It's so different now.
Well, and like, as you were saying that, I was kind of thinking about like, I think to some extent, everyone has not all their problems, but some of the problems are of their own making. And like, it's the way that you don't deal with that boulder and you passively keep or actively add to it, to then it gets to the degree that you can't deal with it anymore. And I was thinking of it in terms of like not dealing with things and not functioning. And of course, like what I thought about was like eating disorder, because like the roots of it and the seeds of it were like planted at such a young age. And like I not only added to it, but like how I was socialized added to it, and how my family talked about size and body and food and weight added to it, and like all of this shit. And like, I think I told you, and I don't think I talked about it on the show, but it's like my therapist and I were talking, and she said, it's kind of like if you have a mirror in front of you and every shitty thing you say about yourself, you write on a Post-it and you stick it on the mirror. And she's like, eventually after 18 years, she's like, you can't see yourself. And you've got, how many layers deep of Post-it notes that say nasty shit about yourself. And she's like, what you're now having to do is take off the bad thought and then have to replace it with like a good thought. And she's like, it's going to be a lot of work of taking those Post-its off to finally see yourself and see who you are. And like, it's so hard because I still am struggling. Like, the good news is like, I haven't gone back to any of the old behavior. I think it's probably been about 4 months since I like not relapsed, but had the behavior like controlling me or whatever, which feels really good. But there's like, it's still got its claws in me. And I have good days and then I have like really bad days. Like over spring break, I had like a day where like, I think I told you I went into like a fitting room and I was purposely not looking at my body in the mirror until I had like all the clothes on. Because like, I'm just in this stage right now, like that when I like see my body, I can't deal with it. I'm like so disgusted at myself, and like I'm working to get to a neutral space. And like my therapist like had me like, she's like, well, you can do like one of two things in those situations. You can like stand there and wait till you get neutral, or you can like, pick it apart. Like that was really hard. Cause like after that, I like literally started crying in the dressing room because I like saw my body and like got really upset. And like, that was the hardest thing. Cause then my brain was like, you need to go starve yourself. You need to go do this. You need to go do that. And you're disgusting and no one's going to love you. And it's just like, it's so weird. And like, I keep fighting that. And I told you like before the show that like, I'm really trying to like recognize, and it's such a struggle that like, I'm like worthwhile and like attractive to other people, and like, no matter what. And that's so hard. And like, all the validation needs to come from like internal. Like I need to know it. I can't use other people as validation. Cause like, when I start using like cute photos of myself online and I get positive male attention from it, the more I do that, the more I disempower the fact that like the feeling good and feeling attractive needs to come from within before it comes from somebody else. And I'm in this weird stage of like being lonely maybe kind of wanting a partner, but then recognizing, you know what, Gabi, you're like not in a space where you could be with somebody, just with all of the mental stuff going on and the changes you're making. It's this really weird place to be in of like, it wouldn't be so bad if I had a man to make out with once in a while, but oh, like you're going through so much shit, like you can't do that yet. And like, yeah. And I've talked about it before, like I'm still in this phase where like the idea of a man holding me like disgusts me because it makes my body real. Like I don't like I'm like really like parsing through a lot of shit, but it's like good because like I'm clearing it out. I'm clearing those Post-its off, but it's still in this phase of like, God, I just want to be cured. God, I just want all the problems gone. I just want to snap my fingers and make the boulder go. That's not going to happen.
Well, you could be friends with more strangers online, so you get more likes. So if you do post a picture, then you'll at least get 100. You know, if you got like 1 million followers, you know, it's
yeah, I think
you get money.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I actually think I'm just going to be an influencer now. Yeah. And I'm just going to like post like as many photos of myself as I can, so I can get all the likes possible and get a lot of attention and validation for my looks and never work on my internal problems and just rely on external compliments.
Yeah, because we're less too.
Oh yeah. No, I'm thinking, yeah. Next one is just going to be electrical tape over my nipples.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, I'll do a milk bath photo. Have you seen those where it's like, I'll just do a milk bath.
I have no idea what you're talking about. It sounds grotesque, and I do not approve of that.
It'll be almond milk bath. I'm not disgusting.
Okay. With the unsweetened or unsweetened?
Did you say unsweetened or unsweetened?
Yeah, almond milk, like sweetened or unsweetened almond milk.
I thought you said unsweetened twice, and I was like, what?
I said sweetened or unsweetened.
Oh, yeah, no, it's unsweetened. Duh. I don't like the sweetened stuff.
Yeah, that would probably cause you some problems like
ooh, and I'm gonna make my mascara bleed down my face.
Oh yeah. Oh god, that's see, like you're honestly like all this other shit with moving and finding yourself. Yeah. Look, you could find yourself through your account.
I could find myself by putting myself out there and sexualize myself and then be validated for my sexualization of myself and my looks and then feel good. And that'll solve all my problems.
Actually, yeah, because it's empowering because it's your choice.
In truth, though, like, yeah, I'll like fully admit, like, I've posted pictures because I'm like, I will be feeling good and like, hey, I look cute today. I should post this. And then like, not gonna lie, if I get compliments, I like think back to like, but remember, like, you were looking real cute and so thought you looked cute and so thought you looked cute. And like, sometimes though, like real talk, sometimes I think that I have to use that against my eating disorder because it tells me, you know, that this is reality. Reality is you're fucking disgusting. No one thinks you're attractive. You're fat and ugly and your thighs are too big and your hips are too wide and your boobs suck and you've got fatty arms, right? I could like literally like go through the list of like shit it tells me. The one thing so interesting, I really like my face though. I really like my neck. I really like my hair. I think I have really pretty hands. I think I have really like cute feet. Like they're not scary looking or gross looking. Like I have things that I can like about myself, but then like it's so weird. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I could go on forever about that and how my eating disorder works and talks to me. But, you know, it tells me this is reality. Like, you're a piece of shit. You fucking suck. You're disgusting looking. But then I have to like, sometimes you have to like, I have to remind myself, like, you sometimes have to look for reality beyond your mind because sometimes it will lie to you. It will tell you all those things. So like, sometimes I do need external validation, but like, I can't rely on that. I couldn't actually become an influencer and just get by on my looks because it would just make the problem worse.
I think you just found the solution to all your problems. Okay, so here's where you meet halfway.
Okay.
Take a piece of yourself that you like and then put it out there in the world for other people to like. So, and not only that, mix it with something that you already do and are already good at, so you just have foot ASMR with podcast equipment.
Yeah, I think you just solved it, Brent.
Fuck everything else. Fuck your hopes and dreams.
Yeah, no, I think I'm just gonna make money. doing foot ASMR.
Because we have all this time that we just waste dedicating to our dreams. Like, besides, dreams are it's such a vague concept of like just having like a goal. Like, okay, like I want to be this, I want to be a cowboy when I grow up, or an astronaut or whatever. And then like it always changes as we get older. So we kind of need little distractions from time to time just to kind of reorient ourselves back into the real world. And I think, just by looking at pictures of like cute feet and hearing the cute feet too kind of like brings us back into reality, and you get money from it, so you could buy yourself some nice shoes to just use those shoes to show off and take off on the like new social media account, and then you're not looking at your body anymore. You're just looking at your feet.
I'm just looking at my feet, and then I can capitalize on my feet and all my problems will go away because people will tell me that I'm cute and I'll be making money off of it, and all my problems will be cured.
Yeah, where's the lie in that?
I sincerely hope that everyone knows that we're being sarcastic. I think they do at this point, ideally. But yeah, no, but I there's truth within it. Because, there's so many people who like live their existence being validated by others. And it's weird. Interestingly, though, on the topic of dreams, I don't know if I've said this before, but like I was listening to a podcast and this woman was saying that like the reason you have your dream is because it was meant for you. If it wasn't meant for you, you wouldn't have dreamt it. And I was like, wow, that's really beautiful and profound. And what happens to all the people? I'm not saying that dreams don't shift, but I'm like, does everyone achieve their dream? I don't think, like, I would think not. But like, what if they do? They are achieving their dream, but it's just like, and I'm not saying like, because when I think of the word dream, I think of like big outlandish like accomplishments, like, homeboy saying that they want to be like rock star, or like I want to be the best architect, or I want to be the best cowboy, right? And like, and then I'm kind of like, well, do like most people actually achieve it? Or is it that like most people don't have like big outlandish dreams? Like instead they like their biggest dream is like they want to be the best like mom that they can be. And like they do that, or like they want to be the best teacher they can be. And then they do that. Like, so that's my thought on dreams.
Yeah. At least with that, in the metaphorical sense of a dream, it's the people who dream the biggest are the ones that have the most abstract dreams, but they take the smallest steps to make those into a reality. Yeah, I think that's true. And like, again, like with like, like since we're ever growing and changing and growing, did I say growing twice? Yeah, but I got you. It's just, extra growing. See, this is why you just show your feet instead of talking. I think that's it. I think I just shouldn't try to make a living talking. I should just show pictures of my feet on the internet and make money. And I say that like to the people that like actually do sell pictures of their feet on the internet, like good on you. Like as long as you're not, well, I guess if you're using it for external validation of your good looks or whatever, like whatever, that's on you. Like if it's not problematic for you, I guess keep doing it. Dear Stephanie, I don't like the way that you talked about I have been a foot model for the past 57 years. And might I tell you that I was able to actually end poverty in several countries because I donated all of my money that I made off of my feet. So you don't know what you're talking about, girl. Fuck you. By the way, I kind of like your soles. Like sole of my feet? Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Well, it's because she would know. She would know. Yeah. She would know. Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. Because, our audience is very big and includes foot models. It's at the point now where I would be shocked if anybody listened to every single episode. They're probably same. I think the people who do listen to every single episode we don't know about. No, I agree. Like we don't know them. They don't know us. They don't reach out, which is fine. Like you don't have to. And like we talked about it before. It's kind of like because we do a different topic each episode, like I don't really think people consistently listen to every single episode, but I think that they listen to the ones that hit a certain need. Like they find what they need within the catalog of episodes. And then they like, so for example, if they're trying to understand toxic people or like have a meditation on that, like they'd listen to that episode. Or like if they're trying to understand family, if they're trying to think about
God, I'm trying to think about like all the episodes we've done. Just so fear, we could think, you know, all those things. So
any listener out there, if this is your first episode, fuck you. I mean, no, I'm just kidding.
No, this is the most like freeform. This is the only time we've ever done that, which is I kind of like it.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, but
then, like, some people are like, well, this ain't going anywhere. But honestly, like, this is kind of how it all started with me and you. Like, we would just be at a diner.
Yeah.
And
this is the most true. I don't want to say the most true.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the most honest, because we're always true. We're always honest. But this is, like, very back to our roots.
Yeah.
We drank a shit ton of coffee, and then we started talking. Yeah. And the only difference is we put 2 microphones in front of us and edited it and posted it online.
Yeah.
And we don't even edit that much.
And there's not going to be an old Polak approaching us saying, like, it's closing. I could say old Polak because I'm Polish, so don't get offended.
I knew you were about to. I was like, oh, why'd you say Polak? And then,
I'm Polish. I could say anything I want about Polish people, and it's cool. So therefore, this old Polak was kicking us out because he wanted to go home. The best was when we just get glares at the diner because we'd been there for like, I don't know, 5-6 hours, like talking and just like finished our food long ago. And like the wait staff is just like, oh, why the fuck are they still here? See, it's kind of reversed now because I think maybe once or maybe even twice a month we share a heavy hitting story off mic and then we go record. But like when we first started off, like getting to know each other, all the bombs were just like... Yeah,
we had a blitzkrieg of, like, truth.
Yeah, it was, like, incendiary, like, airplane bombs. But, like, at least, like, the one-on-one time. Because, like, within the group, we still had fun. We would just, like, watch, like, silly videos. And then, like, the group would leave. And then we're like, yeah, so what do you do? Let's just stick around. And then we would just talk all kinds of shit.
And then it would, all the truth would come out. All the dark things. Which is good. Because, like, I think that it's really special when you can open up to somebody about like all your deepest, darkest shit. And like one thing that I've recognized like is that not a lot of people are willing to go there. And like there's also this element of like you also have to understand, I've come into this with like the podcast, is like sometimes you can't say everything that you're feeling on the mic because you don't know who's listening. You don't know if it's going to come bite you in the ass. That's why we have the, you know, Brent and Stephanie joke, because like it's a reality that as a teacher, God forbid, someone knows that I do this and takes offense to something I say or the language I use or the fact that I've mentioned that I'm sexually active. You know what I mean? Like, or even sometimes employers will hear like stuff about depression or suicide or even my eating disorder, and they'll be like, we don't want to employ you because you're like a risk. You're like a risk for us.
Yeah. The problem I run into is that they could take any soundbite of anything I've ever said and use it against me.
No, 100%. Yeah, no, I'm very conscious of that.
Yeah, so it's
going to be like as soon, you know, we're on YouTube and it's going to get like taken out. My fear is that it gets taken out of shit we say gets taken out of context, or like, you know, you and I politically are similar but different. And like, God forbid someone thinks that you're like the alt-right because you said, I don't know, whatever you've said. Yeah. You know, it's just like, it's a thing. I like, it's in this world of cancel culture, you know, it's something that I'm cognizant of, but we don't really live our life afraid of that.
No, I think at the point right now, we're small enough to where if there is shit, we just get a message, but like from the person and not like...
Yeah, well, we had that one.
The platform, yeah.
We had the one from that one person.
Yeah.
That was, we need to talk about. Well, that person wasn't upset about it. Like, it wasn't like, Brent is a racist, blah, blah, blah. It was like, this person wanted to basically get airtime and preach their shit.
Yeah. So, most of the time, though, I at least wanted to have a platform where I could just be at least honest to myself. Yeah. And to not have too much of a separation between who I am on mic as opposed to who I am in the real world. If anything, I'm actually dumber in the real world.
That's not true.
I'm actually like...
You're not dumb.
I'm dumber at work. like in terms of the shit I say and do, but I'm able to articulate better on mic, whatever that means. Because I'm still like in like working out the process of most things I say in my head. If anything, I want to get better with not saying like that I'm an expert on any particular subject I'm talking about, so long as that subject is an overarching narrative. But if it's about me and like a personal story of mine, then yeah, I'm an expert on that. But if I'm just trying to talk about, well, here's what other people should do, I want to like deter from that.
Oh yeah.
But most of the time, I've said this before, I'm trying to say the wrong things the right way. Yeah,
for sure.
You know.
Yeah. And that's the joke, is you say the wrong shit the right way half the time.
Yeah.
And then the other half the time's the opposite.
Yeah.
Where you say the right thing the wrong way half the time.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's part of like what makes our podcast is like, yeah. Well, and plus too, I think that what's interesting is because your brand of humor is so influenced by like South Park, which is just out there. And then like, you know, but also like truth spitters, like Patrice O'Neill, but also, you know, George Carlin, who's another kind of like form of a truth spitter, and like all these like this like myriad of comedy influences where like your humor is this like absurdist, disgusting thing, and you will say the wrong shit just because it's funny. And like that is something that like a lot of people don't buy into anymore. It's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like, I think back to when like Mind of Mencia was on, and he would say like retarded, and he would use like words that now today, like people are like, oh my God, like how dare they? And like, you're very much like, no, like this shit's funny. And this is like how like the brand of humor that I was like raised on and like think is funny. And you're not afraid to like say it. You know what I mean? And I just think I think people would be critical of that, but that's stupid because, yeah, I don't know.
And I would hope they are, so then I know who to distance myself from.
That's true.
Like even still, like every time we record, I'm like, I am so shocked she's still inviting me over to her place.
Oh, well, you know? I think it's like, yeah, but like I recognize like where it comes from, and I also know that like I see where it comes from, and like I don't know, like it would be dumb if I just was like, if I disconnected from it. I know a lot of people would, though.
Yeah. I read this quote very recently, and it was about, like, being offended, not, like, as it pertains to, like, the PC culture or, you know, somewhere along the similar lines, but basically, when you feel offended, you're practicing judgment. You judge someone else to be stupid, insensitive, rude, arrogant, inconsiderate, or foolish, and then you find yourself upset and offended by their conduct. What you may not realize is that when you judge another person, you do not define them. You define yourself as someone who needs to judge others.
I think I think there's some truth to that. I think there's truth to that for sure.
Yeah, especially like with... like when I look at people who are... Okay, there's a genuine offendedness, and then there's an ingenuine offendedness. And with the ingenuine offendedness, I feel that a lot more, and I'm always... It has nothing to do with what was said. It has something else to do with what else is going on in their life. Yeah,
well, and I think that I see disingenuine offendedness often as a function of PC culture, in the sense of I'm supposed to be upset about this, therefore I will be. Or it's also the reverse of that. It's like, if I'm not upset by this and if I don't show that I am putting on this, I don't want to call it an act, but because there is genuine offendedness, but then there's also the disingenuine who are just like, no, I need to do this because otherwise I didn't do my due diligence of PC culture. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not to say that like we shouldn't be like conscious of offending. And I think too, like if you genuinely offended somebody, you would be apologetic.
Yeah.
You know, like you're not an asshole. You're not going to be like, well, that's your fucking problem. But you would say that to someone who is disingenuinely upset.
Yeah, like I could usually sense it some of the time because the people who are genuinely offended, the way they approach you about it, they never attack you. And they never seem condescending. It's like it comes from like a genuine place. And like, they just say like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, like when you said this, I felt this way. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention. And like, they have like an explanation behind it. And like, but they never, the ones who try to correct, those are the ones I know are fake. They're like, oh, you should say this instead. You should do that. When they say you should, then I know it's all bullshit. I'm like, it's kind of like how they say whenever somebody says any sentence and follows it with but, anything they said before the but is eradicated. I feel the same thing whenever it comes to somebody saying you should, because then they're trying to make me feel bad.
Yeah.
And that they're being more righteous.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, I have that, like I'm working with like a group of students to talk about like taking down like ignorant and hateful comments, like when they're spoken, and we're leading this kind of like workshop about like, you know, how can you, if someone says something that's inappropriate, how can we react in a manner that is direct and informative? So you, like, for example, like we do have kids will, you know, white kids will use the N-word around African American and Black students. And so it's kind of like, well, how do you hit that person who's in the wrong with a fact, you know, about like, or like, you know, there was a situation where I had a student who was saying that, and I'll quote him as saying, he said that all quote unquote Islamists are terrorists and all the Islamist women have no rights and blah, blah, blah. And why did they come over here and try to live by, what is it? Shira law? Oh my God, I sound like such a moron. Whatever that is, right? Shira law. Now I'm like, oh, what the fuck is it called? But I had to play that role of being like, you know, student, when you like, I had to like poke holes through what they were saying and be like, well, do you think that all Muslims are terrorists? And do you know that we have like Muslim students who like go to school with you? And then they were like backpedaling, and it was like, well, you know, think about this. When you say those things, people will think that you are racist and against these people because blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, that's almost like a thing where like, I'm not Muslim. So like, I can't say that I'm offended because I like I don't want to say, I guess maybe going back to that, like the genuineness, but I also have to play that role of being like, hey, what you're saying is like, going to be offensive to people who are Muslim and to those, you know, it's just like, you know, when you say X, people feel Y about you, and you need to understand that and also like understand the impact of like your words or whatever. But it's hard too, because in that situation, like I'm not Muslim. Like if a person told me that like all women, I don't know, what's something that someone could say, like all women who you know, dye their hair and have piercings, have daddy issues and just want to be beaten up. Yeah, I would be offended. Or like all like someone would like, I don't know, or something like if you are, you know, women who are not a size X should not wear blank. And like, I am above the size or whatever that I should not be wearing whatever clothing item. Then I would kind of be like, then I would be offended and be like, do you recognize when you say that you reinforce blah, 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 and like that kind of shit. But that's a different vibe than me correcting the student who was making inappropriate comments about Muslims. Like
when you're going over, here's the thing. I know it's coming from a genuine place on both ends.
Yeah.
When you're coming from a more of a personal example.
Yes.
I tend to listen to you more.
Yeah.
Than someone who's saying you shouldn't say this about that person.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the people who are not a part of the group that are defending that group, like my example with like standing up for Muslims to the student, is like, I'd like to think that it's coming from a place of, hey, I'm a person who's using their, you know, white privilege, their whiteness to try to educate another white person, because it's, you know, it's kind of like that argument. It's like we were talking about earlier when I went to that show. Like, it's not a woman's job to explain to a man why it's inappropriate for a man that, I don't know, shouldn't touch me, right? It's like not my place to educate them. But for some reason, it is my place to educate like another white person, even if they're a kid, about like, yo, don't say that because this and this. Or, you know, this student has said other things about like, they were saying that they quit their job because they quote unquote knew that like the dishwashers were illegal and they were getting paid more under the table than this person. And I literally was like, how do you know that they were illegal? Well, they spoke Spanish. Oh, so all illegal people speak Spanish? Well, no, but they were Mexican. So you're telling me all Mexicans are illegal? It was like that type of thing where I had to just be like, stop, and just like throw it in their face of like, you're being a moron. Like, that student is very much feels the same, which is like, but you're not that group, so why would I take you seriously? Yeah. And like, maybe I think everyone kind of has that because you're like, well, what's your fucking credibility? You're not a part of that group.
Yeah. At its best, I think there's two ways to go about it. There's that way. And the way that I see the most socially acceptable is when someone just says, like they read the intent and they go, man, that's fucked up. Mm-hmm. You know, and then it kind of, you know, because it's still there. Mm-hmm. But when the other party doesn't give a shit. Yeah. Well, it's like, what, is it even worth it? Yeah. So like you can educate, like you could have like a mic drop moment, but even like back at the days where I would try to do that with people, all it really became was at the end of the day, I know more than you. And that's not the right approach. Well, and the person on the receiving end of the education, if you will, is not going to receive it because, again, it's that I'm right, you're wrong, shut up. Yeah. And like, you know, but it's also too, it's like no one's mind will change unless they want it to. But it's also this element of like, you know, my therapist told me something and we were talking about like living with intention. And like, she was saying like, well, you got to do everything that like cleans your side of the street. So like if you want to have a relationship with somebody and you reach out rather than just leaving it up to them, well, you did your due diligence, you reached out the hand, you cleaned your side of the street, it's on them, right? You try to reach out, you tried to have the relationship. If they're rejecting it, that's on them and you can move on. Like, and so kind of that is there too of like, yeah, I'm gonna like intercept when a student or someone I know says something like that. Like I will make a comment because I know that that is what I think is right and cleans my side of the street and lives with that level of intention. But I feel you in the sense of like how many people are like living with intention and like this is what they're doing because it's what they fully believe in versus they're doing it because it's popular or considered right. You know what I mean? And this other dynamic kind of brings up because what I'm talking about is when adults are talking to other adults. But with you, it's kind of like you're talking to kids. Yeah, that's true. That's a much different. That's really true. You know, like if a kid's like, if a kid is like poking the dog's inner ear. Yeah. You know, or like pulling a dog's tail. It's your job as the adult to say we don't treat animals like that. Yeah, like just that's like how true. Like just that's like, true. Just like how to so like in that case. It's different because you're correcting the behavior in terms of how to approach people like in society. Because in a way, like your subliminal part of your job is you have to prep these kids for adulthood. Yeah, and part of that is like, yo, that's wrong. Yeah, so that's a lot different than like a guy at work. Or just like another guy like on the street, or like if you're in a restaurant and you just overhear a conversation of people talking. Yeah. Like I'm just. And then like someone interjects and is like, you really shouldn't say that because. Yeah. Well, and it's like I feel. Yeah, it's really hard because like I want people think that like people like even if they're. This language just came ahead when people like. I don't know, the whole idea of like the teachable moment. Like the teachable moment I think of like in teaching world, but like when like adult to adult, there's like the teaching moment. Like, again, you got to do what's right for you and like jives with your value systems. But like, if you're just correcting somebody to feel right,
And that's what you don't like. And I don't think anybody likes that. You're just correcting me to be right.
And mix that with like passivity or putting me in a corner to where I have to come up with the correct response in order to feel accepted. So for instance, what's going on, it's not frequent yet, but I know it will be next year. There are a few people coming around and asking yet if I feel the burn. Meaning
Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. So my question is not yes or no to that. Why the fuck should I you know what I'm saying? Like why should I just talk to you now?
Like what, like, do you mean people like that you know are like trying to get you to be like a Bernie Sanders follower, or people are like pressuring you to like, what do you mean?
So in a public space, there was a person going around and then just asking people, but they were like being really like cheery and showy about it. Like, hey, how's it going? Are you feeling the burn yet? And then I knew it was a situation like that to where they weren't looking for like they weren't willing to hear no.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like I'm now forced to, one, defend myself or start a fight, or I have to like agree with them because that's the most socially accepted way.
Like, you have to be passive and not be like, actually, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, to me, where it's just like the way I really feel is like, okay, I like the guy. I don't like how you want me to like him like you like him.
Well, and so I have donated, like when Bernie Sanders was in the primaries against Hillary Clinton, I did donate to his campaign because I really believed in him. And like, now I don't know 100% where I stand amongst all like the Democratic candidates who are like tossing their hat in the ring. Like, I've really got to like examine who I like. And again, I'm really kind of concerned or feeling that there's yet to be a Democrat who's thrown their hat in the ring that I think that like a lot of people can get behind. I think it's a lot of people who are not, it's just, I just don't think there's been a person yet that could like really unite the left and quote unquote defeat Trump. I just haven't seen that yet. And like, I'm getting text messages and emails from the Bernie Sanders campaign because I donated, before, like years ago. And I'm getting texts like, he's going to be at this rally in Chicago. Are you going to go? Can you host this? Can you do this for us? And I know that they do that because it's true. There's an immense correlation between volunteers and then that person actually getting elected. Like, that is like the more people, the most impactful thing a political campaign can do is get willing, ambitious, enthusiastic people about the candidate to talk to other people. That is what makes the difference between someone winning and losing. So I feel that, but I'm also kind of like, it's too much. Like, don't ask me like who I'm going to vote for and if I'm feeling the burn, because I don't know.
Yeah. Like,
well, and then like, wouldn't they put you in a situation where they're like, what's wrong with Bernie that you don't like him? And then again, you have to defend yourself.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, it's like this way. I feel this way with sports. So most of the time, just because I'm a guy, other guys will approach me like, oh yeah, you hear about the Hitcherson? Like, he scored the double triple on the sack sports tournament. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. And I'm just like, dude, I'm sorry, I don't watch sports. And like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, like the double RBI, the 481, and like he just hit the sack and he kicked him in the nuts and fucked his mouth in the last 5 seconds of the rally prep. And like with the lingo, and it's just like,
and you're like, I don't stop.
Yeah, but then I'm like, no, the only thing I watch is occasionally I watch UFC, but I watch pro wrestling. And they're like, well, what the fuck? And I'm just like, oh God, you're doing the same thing. So, but
you have to be you have to justify. You can be prepared to justify how you feel. Yeah.
And I think what's happening is there's a mixture, like what's getting lost in translation is that there are a lot of people who have strong opinions, and because they're convincing and they have bass in their voice and they're articulate, they don't necessarily have to be open-minded nor do the research to accommodate the feeling. It's just people saying, like, I'll give you an example. There's a podcast, not ours, but let's just say there's a Joe Rogan episode where he interviews some guy. Love Joe Rogan, love it. I mean, I still listen to his shit, but let's just say he's talking with a guy for 20 minutes and then the guy says something. I'm even guilty of this myself. I'm not going to lie. What happens is you kind of like podcasting has this, it's mainstream, but it's niche enough to where not everybody knows the podcasts that other people are listening to.
Yeah.
There's not and that's the cool thing about it is it's like, in general, like the podcast medium is this buffet to where you can only consume podcasts and still have no idea or reference point what the next person listens to because they're listening to a completely different fucking podcast.
Okay, yeah.
So you see this opportunity to gather this smart information from the source. And then when you go out there and like spout it and like mimic word for word, you are and like you sound convincing because that's not what the other person has thought of yet, like the counter argument to that. So in a way, you are essentially at the end of the day a YouTube scholar. And again, this is like
that's such a good word for it.
That was pretty much me last year. So a little bit of this year too. But like I'm like realizing this and I'm like, holy shit. Like this is not the way to approach things. And not only that, but like when somebody else responds to like the video or like somebody approaches me and they're like, hey, have you heard about what's going on in this whatever? And I'm like, no. How come? Like it's been going on for years. And it's just like, look, you just listened to I was just taking a shit and listened to the exact same soundbite that you listened to. So like what's happening right now is like media and all this shit is like a giant vacuum, and you do have these important pieces of discussion and important bits, and what it's doing is that it's sucking it all up into the hose and it's mixing it around and all this shit becomes dust. So it's kind of hard to examine any topic without there being certain bits of dust on there. Yeah. And we think it's dirty, you know, and like, okay, well, what do you do with dust? You throw it in the garbage. Yeah. So people, you know, they like to, you know, they want clean things around. So like if they see something that's like, you know, contradictory to what they believe, they say, okay, you don't support the burn, you're dirty, you know, or vice versa. So it's just, it's like, I just struggle with the fact that I'm seeing more patterns, like, and I guess that's kind of like which I wish I haven't been. I wish I was still ignorant to that, to where like I was just like, okay, I'm just walking through shit, but I see so many patterns of like intent and like misintent. And I'm just like seeing this shit, and these are the representatives of the idea. And I'm not talking about just like other YouTube pundits or anything, but just like the people like walking around in everyday life. And you know, it's so easy to latch onto, and it's just like the cool thing to do. But I don't know. Yeah.
You're so correct in talking about like YouTube scholars, or like, I really do believe in the power of the internet as a vehicle of information, right? It is the most, like, it's the way that we can change our world, because information is at our fingertips at any moment. But the problem is that when only specific channels of information become popularized and they become the way that everyone educates themselves, is because they went through this, like, you know, this one liberal source that they really trust. Well, it's only one liberal source. I'm a liberal. I get it. You want to be confirmed in what you believe. But the problem is that it's just going to create more echo chambers. And then, like, if you're just a mouthpiece for what this one person said and just parrot it all over the internet in real life, well, who the fuck are you? And like, that's not to say that like we can't have an exchange of ideas from the internet and like have meaningful dialogue and hear things that really make us think. Like, there was a Vox video that my students were telling me, you know, that meme with the dog in the house that's on fire, it says everything is fine. Yeah. So supposedly there was like a Vox mini documentary about that, and suggesting that the political spectrum, you know, it used to be, if we have a line that's 5 inches long, the median point of that is the 2.5 inch mark, right? Well, what happens when the right side of the line extends 5 inches? Well, now the median has moved that much more right. And so to use that analogy and then take it to the political spectrum, everything has gone so far right that now the median point or the moderate point is more conservative than it's ever been. And someone like Bernie Sanders, who's on the Democratic social side, looks like a crazy extremist when he's really not, just because we've gone so conservative, right?
Yeah.
And that was like a bit of information. They told me like, that is so cool. And I've talked about that and I've used that before. But at the same time, like we have to be conscious of like not just becoming these parrots of these like YouTube stars or like whatever, or like information purveyors. Like I'm really sick of the Joe Rogan bros who think that just because they listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, they know fucking everything and they're edgy and they're counterculture. You know what I mean?
No, I was one of those guys.
Yeah, all these bros who like suck Joe Rogan's dick all the time. It's just like, I find it annoying because it's just like, yeah, you think you're edgy, but you're not. Like he is one of the nicest guys I've ever met. I will say that. Well, here's the thing. I listen to Joe Rogan like sometimes when there's someone that I really enjoy on there, and I don't have a problem with Joe Rogan at all. Well, this is my one. Sometimes like he does give. I don't know if I admire this or if I should admire this, but I don't. He gives a platform. You know what? No, he doesn't. I was going to say he gives a platform to everybody in all sides of the spectrum, but he doesn't. He curates his guests, right? Sure, he'll have Alex Jones on one day and Twitter execs the next, but he still moderates and picks and chooses his guest list. It's curated, right? I was going to say that it's pretty open, but like I still think it's curated. You know what I mean? Like everything is biased. Like you said it best. Like every documentary's got a bias to it.
Every single one.
Yeah.
Well, with him, whatever he's curious about and whoever he's curious about talking to, he'll have on the show. And he's not the end all be all like news source to where like he has to like speak to sponsors or anything like that. Like we're like a NBC. Mm-hmm. They have to air certain content and like they have to talk to certain sponsors.
Yeah, so they're slaves to their corporate overlords.
Yeah, but my problem isn't with that show at all. It's the surroundingness of it. And I actually had this very profound moment last week when I was watching again Flavor of Love. So for those of you who don't know, Flavor of Love was a reality TV show that came out in 2006. It was a mock version of The Bachelor, meaning if you haven't seen The Bachelor, it's one person, typically, let's just say a man, and the man has 20 women that he has to go on dates with and narrows it down to one. And they go through competitions every week and then like they're voted off or whatever. So Flavor of Love was very much like that. So with The Bachelor, wanted a woman to stick around, he would hand her a rose. With Flavor of Love, he would give them a clock. So, and whenever he wanted to keep them around, he would say, yo, if you get a clock, you know what time it is. If you don't get a clock, I'm sorry, your time is up. So that's a terrible impression. So I was obsessed with all of the celebrity shows from the mid-2000s.
Who wasn't, frankly?
Yeah, particularly VH1. And I just the other day started season 3. I binge watched all these fucking like season 1 and 2. Like that's all I've consumed my time with. And at the time, I realized that the stigma was like, okay, this is trash TV. This is like killing brain cells, and all the stigmas attached to it. And it's easier to attack that entire genre. But as I was watching it, episode to episode, I had this thought of, wow, I'm watching this and I have the exact same feelings I have when I look at social media. So the way the episodes are heavily fucking edited to where what it does is it provides you 45 minutes, 15 minutes of that are commercials. VH1 had so many fucking commercials. But like a typical episode of season 1 of Flavor of Love, season 2, season 3, 45 minutes long, minus the finale. The finale was about a little over an hour long, an episode. What they do is they give you one or maybe two characters to focus on.
Yeah, per episode.
Yeah, and that guides the episode. So for instance, the very first episode of season 2 of Flavor of Love, they have the house opened up, so the girls are finding the beds to sleep in. There's only 15 beds, 20 girls. So in the very first episode, these two women, like one of them picked the bed first. She stepped out of the room to get something. Another woman came in. Her name was Sapphire. And then the other one was nicknamed H-Town. So H-Town comes up to Sapphire and says, "This is my bed." And then Sapphire's like, "No, it ain't your bed." So they just start fighting each other.
Like hitting?
Yeah. So what happened was like, H-Town threw flowers in Sapphire's face. And then like there was like this scuffle back. So Sapphire was like fucking like Brazilian jiu-jitsuing around the fucking bed, like pulling her hair, just going through all these things, completely like decimated this fucking poor woman.
Jesus.
So the whole episode was dedicated like to that. So then what happened was Flav kicked off Sapphire for starting the fight. So then the second half of the episode was like based on him furthering getting to know the girls. So he actually had a spy in the midst, and he nicknamed her Eyes. So by the way, also with the show, none of the girls use their real names. Flav gave them all nicknames.
It's so creepy.
Because he didn't know, because he can't remember names. So he'd be like, "Okay, I'm going to call you Hottie. I'm going to call you Boots. I'm going to call you Delicious."
Okay, I can't remember names, but I can remember nicknames. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, so like there was an Asian character. He just named her Oyster, but then she wore red every single day for the past 6 years and was trying to break a record, so he named her Red Oyster. And then there was
why would he name her Oyster?
I don't know, Asian and like none of these names. Okay, this is
I fucking hate Flavor. I fucking hate all of them. I hate The Bachelor. I hate Flavor of Love. I fucking hate all of them.
Oh, these are amazing shows. And I'm not saying that they're
marched the downfall of humanity.
No, we did. So, but then the second part of the was Flavor. So he named this one girl Something. So, Something, because like, "Man, you something." And that was her nickname. So Something was very loud and boisterous and controversial. And like, she just, like the girls would just always argue with each other. So Something got into an argument with this one girl called Spunky. Because she's just spunky energy. She was just like very like energetic. So Something was arguing with Spunky. So then Something was kept around. And at the end of the episode, Something took a shit on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
And then that became like the main focus of the episode.
Oh, my God.
So what happens is, like what my main point to this is each episode has an agenda and a focal point.
Yeah.
Because Hoops, from season 1 was the season 1 winner. They didn't really give her the time of day or a voice until like maybe 5 episodes in. Mm-hmm. The rest of the time was like going through all these other characters.
Yeah, like weeding them out.
Exactly. Same thing with Delicious. Like she was the season 2 winner. She wasn't really a dynamic character until like there was at least half of the people gone. Mm-hmm. Some of the one of the greatest TV show villains of all time was New York.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's like, I miss this Flavor Flav. These fucking bitches in here don't know. Okay, come on over here and you talking shit. Go fuck yourself. I miss this Flavor Flav.
I like still can't believe when you just told me that New York was like 23 when that aired. Like I am just like so disgusted.
Right now.
I'm so disgusted.
She just had her birthday in January. She's 37 years old now. Flavor of Love season 1, when it was filming, she was 23. The show didn't come out until January 1st of 2006. So she would just turn 24 about a week or two after.
Could you, like your whole life is now defined by a shitty reality TV show where you at 23, where you fucking threw yourself at some guy who I get it. Like, he's famous and all, but like, you don't know him. This is a TV show. Like, what are you doing? Like, I just can't. It's God is dead and we killed him. You know what I mean? Like,
so, but dude, like even something more fucking crazier than that was, dude, VH1 is his own version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh my God, you are so right.
All of these shows are fucking interconnected.
Oh God, you're so right.
Even to this day. Like, dude, honestly, and just looking at New York, dude, that was her origin story.
Oh my God, you are so right.
So, okay, like, basically, to finish off my previous point, each episode was heavily edited, so you get a certain portrayal of these characters. The show was filmed over a couple of weeks. And, like, so, for instance, one character, her name was Hottie. She was basically the quote-unquote gold digger of the group. And whenever she said something that was dumb, and she would, like, pause in the interview and blink afterwards, they actually edited in the sound of a bicycle bell, like, bring, bring, whenever she blinked.
Yeah, for sure.
To make it look like she's a fucking idiot. And the same thing with, even when something was edited, they slowed down her voice. So she sounded like this when she was screaming really fucking crazy. And same thing with New York. They edited her in such a way to where she was so fucking manipulative and devious and like one of like the best reality TV show villains. However, if you look at Flavor of Love as her origin story, it went from Flavor of Love, season 1. She came in second place. Flav picked Hoops. Came back in season 2 as just like kind of like a guest for the week. Mm-hmm. Flav re-entered her into the competition again. Mm-hmm. So then basically her whole journey after that was like, I Love New York, I Love New York 2. Those were her own spin-off shows where she was in Flav's position and like had to choose between 20 guys. And then she did other shows like, you know, New York Goes to Hollywood, New York Goes to Work. And then she ended up on her most recent show called Family Therapy with Dr. Jen, where she's trying to repair her relationship with her mom.
Totally.
So her mom was now known Sister Patterson. So from Flavor of Love season 1 in 2006 all the way to Family Therapy with Dr. Jen was New York's journey to rekindle her relationship with her mother.
Yeah.
So you saw all of this crazy shit, dude. Like, and yeah, I mean, like, it's really easy to say, like, yeah, New York was crazy and shit. Yeah, she said a lot of inflammatory shit, but like, she knew what she was doing.
She was also, again, she was 23 or 24. Who among us has not done some stupid fucking shit or said something fucking stupid when they were in their early 20s? I am the first to admit I have said stupid fucking shit. I told my ex's mom that I would rather kill myself than have an abortion. Like, kill myself with the baby inside of me just to fuck with her because she was pissing me off. Like, yeah, I did that when I was like 19. Like, I've said some crazy fucking shit. Like, come on. And the note. She was very pro-life. And so this is how horrible they were. They literally asked me what I would do if I got pregnant because they found out that like I was on the pill. And they're like, well, you know, what if that fails? And I was like, well, I don't really believe in abortion, so I would just kill myself with the baby inside of me. Yeah. We've all said crazy inflammatory shit.
See, it's funny that you bring that up because that was actually part of New York's journey as well.
Did she have an abortion?
She had a miscarriage.
Oh, okay.
So on Family Therapy with Dr. Jen, so basically you had a bunch of celebrities move into the house together, and Dr. Jen was like a therapist, like a Dr. Drew, not a Dr. Phil, but like an actual doctor who was trying to like rekindle the. So her relationship with her mom is an extreme narcissist, borderline. Like she's one of the most like evil fucking women out there.
Totally.
Like in the reality TV world. I'm not judging her as a person, as portrayed on TV. By the end of Dr. Jen with Family Therapy, New York becomes a very sympathetic character. Mm-hmm. They actually were on the Steve Harvey show together. Not like his sitcom, but like
his talk show.
His talk show, Sister Patterson in New York. And like New York said, like at the beginning of the interview, she actually drank like a pint or two of vodka just so she could sit next to her mom. And her mom was like completely crazy and out of there. So during the show, New York thought she was pregnant with a baby. And it turned out she was. She took the pregnancy test and it was positive.
I remember that.
Yeah. So then Sister Patterson, highly religious woman, said, no, she wasn't pregnant. She was lying. She's full of shit. I know my daughter. And then Steve was like, well, how did you know she wasn't pregnant? And then Sister Patterson says, well, I did a spiritual cleansing and my daughter wasn't pregnant. Moms know when their daughters are pregnant. So a few days after New York took the pregnancy test, she was actually taken to the hospital because she had a miscarriage.
I remember that when that was on. Yeah.
Yeah. So then Sister Patterson said, like, nah, you're lying. Well, where's the baby? And then New York just starts breaking down fucking crying. And then, like, Sister Patterson and Steve Harvey got into it. And Steve Harvey, like, I've never seen him that, like, completely taken aback by what she said. And then, Sister Patterson's like, I'm perfect. I'm this in the eyes of Jesus. And I am my daughter. We are one flesh. If she has a baby, that's my baby. Like, seriously, like, this fucking...
That woman has a personality problem. Yeah, like a disorder.
So, like, this tyrannical woman, like, is honestly much... Like, so you understand how New York came to be through, like, the eyes of the reality TV show. Not only that, but... New York's journey is very similar to Loki's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because in the first Avengers, Loki was the fucking evil guy. He was trying to destroy the world in the first Avengers. And then up to like where he was currently, he was like one of the good guys. He was on like the side of the good guys. So like that's how New York came to it. So at least there was a path of redemption in like the celebrity world, and they're all interconnected with each other. And I was looking at some of these people are on other shows, like, like Bucky is on like the Love of Hip Hop, like that one show. Yeah. Bucky's on there now, and she was in season 2, and Delicious has her own like radio show. Very few of the women are like outside of like their own world. But, when it comes to having the same feelings as, social media, it's because in social media, everyone's like portrayed in such a way where it's heavily edited. Yeah. And it's very picky and choosy of where we should look. Mm-hmm. So it's not just like a person posting a tweet. It's a person interpreting that tweet. And that's what's fed to us.
Yeah. It's totally... my mind is still blown that you're like, it's basically like its own cinematic universe. Like, that's crazy, but it is. And like, to your point, like a lot of like information that we're fed via the media, like could be television, could be news broadcasts. Like, it's all this like narrative trying to be formed and people trying to make sense of things. And that like when things don't square with the narrative, like what do we do? Or like, what do we think and how do we feel? Like, it's really crazy. I would rather die than rewatch Flavor of Love or any of those shows. Like, they're just so... I, like, have a visceral reaction. Like, you heard... Yeah. Like, they disgust me. I can't watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. Like, that's disgusting to me. Like,
dude, like, when I watched, like, the season 2, like, it was the third from the last episode where it was the final 3 and the parents came back, and then, like, Sister Patterson immediately fought with Flav, and I don't really care. Like, Flav is actually a boring guy on the show. Like, you don't get to know him at all. You get to know the girls.
Well, and, like, he's... The one thing that I think, like, is really... Like, due to the editing, they make Flavor Flav look like he's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's so out there. They make him look like, of course, like the Viking helmet and the clocks and the, even the way he, like, talks. Like, and again, like, this is all doctored and edited. You know what I mean? And they make him out to be, like, a moron, which, like, I would have to imagine, like, he's not that stupid. Like he clearly got somewhere in life with his career, music and then reality TV. So like he's got to be somewhat intelligent. And they just make him, like you were saying, it's like through the editing, they make him out to be this like weirdo. And like, I mean, I'm not to say that everyone has weird things and they're unique, right? Clocks, Viking helmets, what have you. But it's just like weird. It goes to a level where you're like, yeah, I don't know. It's really scary. And like, that's totally like soundbite culture and like, yeah.
So what's particular of a Flavor of Love episode is the episode starts off where it's just a short recap of the previous episode. And then it's the morning. And then they're all waking up. They're all having breakfast. And then Flavor's like, yo, man, I don't want this. I wasn't feeling this girl right here. yeah, holla at your boy, like whatever he's saying.
Yeah.
And then like the girls have a new fight. There's a new conflict every episode.
Yeah, it's the same structure.
Yeah, so then they are delivered a flavorgram, which is just like a folded up piece of paper by the show's quote unquote like bodyguard or bailiff, however you want. His name's Big Rick. He's kind of like the mediator and like Flav's like right hand man. He doesn't have a personality on the show. It's just like, ladies, you'll be at this competition tonight.
Yeah.
So after they read the flavorgram, there's a competition, usually with a twist. So in one episode, he says, okay, you're going to meet some of my old friends and you have to take care of them. So all the girls are, like New York are like, yeah, he knows Hillary Clinton, all the Clintons, he's famous. I'm just going to impress my man because I'm New York and New York is in the motherfucking house. Live with it. I just love doing an impression. But in any case, so it turns out, old friends, they're actually going to an old folks home. And that's the twist. So and then basically there's this competition. Flav picks either one girl or several girls, depending on the rules of the competition, to go out on single individual dates. And then after those single individual dates, they show the conflict that remains at the house after Flav is left. And then it goes to eliminations. And then Flav eliminates a girl or several women, depending on the circumstances. And then the process begins anew. So that same, we're not observing, why that rotted our brains is, because it gave a very basic and trashy, picture and portrayal of people and women and all that shit, but we are reacting to the formula. So if it was just a live broadcast of them 5 weeks at the house, New York would not be a dynamic character.
Yep.
Hottie would not be dumb. They're just all interacting with each other. If anything, we'd probably learn to dislike the characters who were supposed to be liked. Because at the end of season 1 and season 2 and the final 2, Hoops was made to be the good girl. The right one for Flav, the real one. And then New York was the psychotic bitch who was manipulative.
Yeah,
Same thing with Delicious was the real woman. And she actually had a bad car accident. She actually had her scars on her body. And there was an episode where she actually took Flav's hand and said okay, I want you to touch my scar on my shoulder. That's where I hit the windshield, and the same thing with my head and my neck. So these real deep moments. So Delicious is this great woman against New York again. So we're used to the formula and we're used to the format, and that's how the fuck it is with social media now. There's we're not reacting to the information, we're reacting to the formula. Yeah, it's all it all feels doctored, engineered, fake, not real. It's a fucking algorithm. It's not reality. And the closest thing to actual reality that I have found, one of them is this podcast and your creative work and my creative work, and that type of shit is the closest thing to reality, because it doesn't abide by the algorithm. It doesn't abide by the norm. You know what I mean? I don't know. Kind of. Well, we start off the episode by saying a general statement about the topic. Well, we have a structure in the episode, but that's not to say that we have a formula. You know what I mean? Structure is not what I'm thinking of. Okay. Structure is just frankly, without structure, you would have a free-flowing whatever, kind of like we're doing right now, which is cool, and I'm down with it. But at the same time, that's not a formula. We don't have a crescendo moment every single episode that we doctor in. No. You know what I mean? Sometimes we walk into one, happenstance, it happens, but we don't walk in every episode trying to drop a bomb of truth. Right. That would be the formula. But everyone ends with me saying something really fucked up. You go, oh, God. So, if you like a Coffee and Catastrophe, look us up. And then I finish with said offensive line. Yeah. And then you react. So, okay. So, just let me take my foot out of my mouth now, because apparently we do have a formula, and it's completely wrong. Well, no, but I understand what you're saying. The structure is we have to go from point A to point B. The formula is the formula would be if I heavily edited our responses.
Yes.
So
right.
Totally. So if I just like said something like if I was like on one of my rants and then like I just like edited in bicycle like dring, dring, like whenever you said, or like let's just say if you said something
like man cow in the morning is like the formula.
Yeah.
But we are not fuck man cow.
Yeah. So, but it is a real thing. And a lot of people are pissed off because they think, very much like reality TV is like, reality TV gives us little slivers of information to make judgments off of. Mm-hmm. So it gives me just a little bit of information because honestly, like screen time wise, I've only known New York for maybe 2 hours. Mm-hmm. So she's like a fully realized character just on season 1 and season 2. If you just took all of her screen time and all the attributes that they showed of her, yet that's enough for me to make an informed decision about what kind of a person she is, just based off of the behavior that they filtered through and that I consume. So it's the same thing with social media and like the way it is now is like they give us just a little bit of information to react to. Now it's evolved to the point where it has to be fit within 160 characters. And you'll see the Snapchat stories like, they did what? Like with this clickbait, like, oh, you're not going to believe what Cardi B said. And there's a picture of Cardi B like mid-blink, mouth open. She looks crazy, but she was just probably yawning at an award show or some shit.
It's all clickbait because like, we got to like hook you in with this like, crazy narrative, this crazy fucking story, but it's not. It's all bullshit. It's all fake.
So my way to tie all of this in is that the internet and social media is a representation as accurate as reality television when it comes to people.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. And it's like, it gets frankly, like, I think a lot of the time, like beyond watching Netflix, like I really, and like YouTube videos, like I really don't consume, and I will read articles online, but I don't consume like a lot of media outside of like music, some videos on the internet, and like some Netflix shows. Like, I'm really detached from like news and stuff, but like honestly, like I get so bogged down and like disgusted by it all that like there's almost no motivation for me to like reach out there and do more or like, because I just get bogged down by the narrative and think it's disgusting and the formula. Because, like, it's there and it's just gross and bad and I don't like it.
Yes. But, fuck.
This has been a great freeform conversation. If you liked what you heard and you want us to do more of these episodes, you can tell us on Facebook at Coffee and Catastrophe, or you can tweet at us at CCWBG. You can go to www.coffeeandcatastrophe.com and listen to all of our episodes. Our whole archive is there. You can also like, comment, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, CastBox. We're now on YouTube. What? Anything else you want to say before we close out this episode?
I miss this Flavor Flav! He's my man. None of these fake ass bitches in this house. See, what we have is fiery, burning passion, and delicious with her shit-stained eyebrow and her fake-ass weave and her mustache. She's taking away my man, but she doesn't know that New York is in the motherfucking house. Live with it.
You're too good at that.
Bye, bitches.